Hi nut milk lovers, it's Candy Lee Cole. How are you today? It's a beautiful January day here. It's the middle of the day and I've got some great light coming through the window. I'm so happy about that we've got sunshine. And I thought I would show you how to make a nut milk today that I used to make way back in the day when I used to run a catering business back in the 70s and the early 80s when my son was just a little kid. And I did a lot of catering for chiropractors and nutritionists and acupuncturists and local people around the community that wanted to celebrate good food with their patients and clients. So this happens to be a really good recipe. It's called Apple Fruit Harvest Pecan Milk, and it's in my Nut Milks book in the pecan section. It's the very first recipe in the section, and it's a super easy recipe to make and very healthy. So what's in the drink? Well, obviously we've got organic pecans as the main ingredient. Pecans are a great high protein nut. In fact, they're my favorite nut of all nuts. I just love the flavor of pecans. So these are nuts that I get from nuts.com, but you can get nuts, all over the place. The co-op, you can go online, you can find different sources of good organic nuts. So just do as you wish with that. And then we're going to add flaxseed, which is a great ingredient that's high in fatty acids. It adds a little texture to the drink. It adds a silky quality. And in addition to the flax, we'll also add some sunflower seed lecithin. And this is Living Herbal Pharmacy brand. You can get lecithin at different places, but just make sure you get the sunflower seed versus the soy, because a lot of the soy out there is genetically modified. So we'll just be adding a little of that, and that will help kind of emulsify the fats in the drink, and it'll also boost the nutritional value too, because our brains and our livers are made up of lecithin largely, and we need to really replenish that lecithin. So in addition to the basic ingredients in the drink, we are going to add some dried apples that I soaked overnight. These are organic dried apples, and what I did is I just filled up my cup about halfway full with these dried apples, and then I added water and I let them soak, okay, and then they kind of swelled up. So the nice thing about these apples is that they're going to add a lot of body and flavor to the drink. It's going to be really yummy. And of course, dried apples are known to reduce bad cholesterol in the body, and they have a very low glycemic index. So if you're diabetic, that might appeal to you as well. Okay, and then to flavor the drink, to sweeten it rather, we have a couple different sweetening options. I always encourage you to play with the sweeteners as you wish. In this particular recipe in my book, I use rice syrup, a couple tablespoons of the rice syrup, and then I supplement it with either raw cane sugar, or in this instance, I just picked up some coconut sugar from Trader Joe's the other day. And this is also a good option. It's organic. I'm not going to use too much of it, but it's just one of those things. This sugar is cultivated from Indonesian coconut trees, so that's kind of neat. Another option is honey. I got this honey a while back, and it's actually honey that's infused with cinnamon. So that's another option. Okay, and then for the spices that go in this drink, we're going to add ground cinnamon. We'll add some star anise powder. And of course, we'll add some vanilla flavoring. And we'll mix it all together with some hot water. And that'll be it for the basic recipe. So when we come back, I'll show you how to whip it up in the blender. Okay, thank you. Hi, we're back, and I have all the ingredients in my blender already almost, because I started to record the session to show you how to add all these ingredients, and the sound was not on. We had a dead battery. So rather than dump all of everything that's in my blender and start over, I thought I would just tell you what's in here. The first thing I did, of course, was grind up my pecans. I had about a half to a third of a cup of pecans, and I just ground them up in my Krups grinder like this. And you can see they're almost all the way ground. I had this whole container filled up with the pecans. I had about a half a cup in there. And then when there's more in the grinder, they seem to grind up even better. As you can see, there's a few chunks there. But when you have a lot of them in there at the same time, they'll ground up, you know, very nicely into a fine powder. So then I swoop them out into my blender with my finger, and they are an oily nut, so you'll notice them when you're scooping that out. I also used my grinder here to grind up the flaxseed. I just took a tablespoon, put it in the grinder, ground it up, and I dumped that in the blender already, so that was really fast and slick. And then I added in about a heaping teaspoon of my sunflower seed lecithin, okay? So that's in there already. Noisy little cup there. And as you can see, my little cup that I had my brown rice syrup in is empty, so that's in the blender as well. And I was mentioning when I was recording earlier, the part that you didn't hear, I was talking about how, you know, rice syrup is a really nice alternative to other kinds of sweeteners. Because what they do when they make it is they take whole grain brown rice and they add cereal enzymes to it, and they cook it up into a slurry. And what happens during that process is that the carbs get broken down, the starches get broken down into simple sugars called maltose. And so they're actually easier to digest, and they're not going to spike your blood sugar as much. And it's a really nice sweetener because it's mellow and it doesn't kind of overpower the rest of the ingredients. It just really brings out the flavor of the other items in this drink. My cup here that I had my organic dried rehydrated apples in, I just put those right in the blender. So we've got a good half cup's worth in there. And then I measured out my spices. I added about a half teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and I added about a quarter teaspoon of the star anise powder. And these are just really nice spices to use together. And then I added about a teaspoon of vanilla flavoring. So that's what I have in there for that. I also added in a tablespoon of this coconut sugar that I got from Trader Joe's. And, you know, if you don't want to add that, that's fine. You could always substitute with, you know, like stevia or, you know, another form of raw sugar if you have it is fine too. Okay, so I've got everything in the blender right now, and the only thing I really need to add is the water. So I'm going to start out with about a half cup of water. Just pour it in like that. And we'll start the blending process. Hopefully I'm plugged in here. Okay, so you can see I added just a portion of the water to get the ingredients to kind of come together. I like to do that so that, you know, you're not adding a whole bunch of water all at once so things kind of fly over, but you're adding just a little bit to kind of bring all those ingredients together. So now that they're all together in a nice little slurry, we can add the rest of the water. Now if you wanted to, you could also add some diluted, you know, organic apple juice. That would be another option. I'm going to add, this is my second. And I'm going to add one more because I think this recipe with the addition of the dried fruit is going to need just a little bit more water to thin it out. So I've got about 3.5 cups of water in here right now. And so you're just going to blend that for a good 30 to 60 seconds to make sure it's all together and nice and smooth and creamy. And sure smells good. All right. So when you come back, I'll show you how to strain it, okay? So we're back. The nut milk's all blended up. I'm just going to strain it real quickly through my little strainer. Got like a 4-inch strainer that I just set right over my bowl with a lip on it. And you can see it's going through the strainer nice and quickly. Maybe not quite as quickly as some of the other nut milks because it's got so much of the fruit fiber in it. So as you can see, there's a little more fiber in this one. Now that doesn't mean you're not going to get fiber in this drink. There'll still be plenty of fiber from the nuts and the fruit. So don't worry that you're throwing everything out. But you know, feel free to stir this into a dish of oatmeal or some pancake batter. Okay, I don't have a cup here, so I'm just going to put that in the sink. Finish pouring. It's really a lovely soft color. This is going to make probably about 4 servings. So you can see how simple the straining part is. It's not really a big deal. I know some people like to strain it through cheesecloth, but that seems like a lot of work to me. So this is just simple as pie. All right, there we go. So my cup, where did it go? All right, pour a little in. Have a little taste test. Oh. You can really taste the pecan. You can taste just a subtle hint of the apple. I think if you wanted to, you could add a little bit extra cinnamon. In fact, I think I might do that right now to the bowl. But you can just tell when you're drinking this that it's really yummy, really healthy. And as I've said in my other videos, you know, you can adjust the sweeteners as you like, and you can adjust the spices. I wanted to mention a couple things about cinnamon and anise because they're so healthy. Cinnamon is known for its anti-inflammatory benefits. So if you have inflammation in your body, and most of us do, it's a great protection against the inflammation. Alzheimer's is one thing where we get brain inflammation, get gut inflammation. They did animal studies and they showed that cinnamon was actually good for helping with HIV virus and even cancer. So they're always coming out with new discoveries about spices and herbs, and I just love that. It's also great for balancing blood sugar, helps with insulin resistance, something you can feel really good about. And then the anise, I recently read a study that researchers in Taiwan tested the benefits of this against viruses and bacteria, and they found out, let me get this straight, they found out that it was effective against 67 drug-resistant strains of bacteria. So who knew, right? Okay, so those spices are really good. And of course, in addition to the spices, the nuts themselves are great. They're high fiber, good for constipation, boosting heart health. That's because they have monounsaturated fats. Promoting bone and teeth health. The reason for that is because they contain phosphorus. And in our culture today, we're really kind of deprived of phosphorus because people are drinking so much soda pop and so forth, and that really leaches the phosphorus out of the body. So this is a nice supply of phosphorus. They're also anti-inflammatory, reducing Alzheimer's risk and other cardiovascular related ailments. Reducing blood pressure, that's because pecans are rich in magnesium. Great for reducing stroke risk and even breast cancer. And the reason for the reduction of breast cancer is that pecans contain oleic acid, which is a fatty acid, and they have found in tests that that helps suppress the cancer. So another reason to drink nut milks, right? Okay, thank you so much, and play around with the spices and sweeteners to get it just right. Okay? All right, see you next time. Bye-bye.